Well, hello there, listeners, friends, friendly listeners, and listener friends. It is another episode of K-Ben Talks in your ears. It's me, K-Ben, Karyn Ben Singer, KBS. This is a solo episode today. Yeah. Wow. Real hot start to that one. That's okay. I just wanted to pop on here. I had a guest scheduled, but there was a scheduling conflict, so we're rescheduling. And so I thought I would bring myself in here to the virtual recording booth and, I don't know, catch up on some stuff that's been happening, which really is nothing because we're all still at home doing stuff at home. I feel like I am at the point where I have bought everything I could possibly want. Hey, there's things I still want in life, right? But like, when we were in the first kind of stages of this and the stimulus came through, it was like, oh, well, I'll get some assorted things, pay off some stuff. And, I upgraded my camera equipment, got a couple of lenses, which that I've been putting to use this year, and a few other things. And when we were just talking about Christmas stuff and like, the families are starting to ask, what do you want? And I was like, I don't think I need anything. Like, I've got stacks of books I still need to read. I've got a ton of physical media. If you know me, I am an avid collector of, if you could see me, some of you can, if this is a clip you're looking at on the Instagram page, which is like just this part, but still, I've got tons of, VHS media behind me. I have kind of out of frame here, but and completely out of frame if you're listening to this only with your ears, which is how you would listen to it regardless. But you know what I mean. Anyway, I've got tapes, I've got DVDs, I've got Blu-rays, and there was a point in time where I had downsized kind of a lot. It's when I moved to New York, and I threw away all the cases. I kept all of the covers and stuff, but I put everything in one of the big, like, Case Logic DVD, CD cases. And so I think I have about 200 or so discs in there, which is fine. But then for that period of my life, it was great because I was renting a tiny room. But at this point, I don't know, I'm kind of back in the physical media preference stage. I love streaming, but, you're constantly running into, oh, this is getting pulled off of this service, or now, Disney is launching their own service, or Nickelodeon's going to launch their own service, or everyone's going to have their own thing, which is what I felt was happening a few years ago. Everyone's splintering off, and now it's where it used to be, 3 major services at about $10 a month. It's now 8 or 9 or 10 at 5, 8, 12, 5, 8, 12. That's the model. I just, wow. Sorry, I'm a little bit, I feel super scattered, but that's okay. That's what it's like to talk to me. So you're getting a real time experience. Anyway, so it kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm maxed out. I can always accept more, films into my life, but as far as space goes in an apartment, and we're getting kind of tight on some of it. So yeah, and thinking about Christmas things and stuff, I was like, well, we kind of have everything we need. We kind of have been pretty comfortable. We're certainly in an awkward place as far as unemployment and a regular income goes, but as far as being fed and sheltered right now, we're pretty solid. So I'm grateful for that. I hope other people are able to say the same, and I know it's a tough time. And if you're local to me and you know me and you need something to watch, please don't hesitate to ask for a couple of loaners. I will help you out. Like a video store. Listen, this is my dream is to operate a video store, and for a long time people thought that was like a hilarious wow, great. But I think we're coming back around to it. But that's the video store era. Let's just talk about, you know what? This is going to be an episode about about nostalgia and video stores, I guess. The act of going to a Blockbuster or your corner mom and pop, or then we had like Movie Gallery. I know Family Videos, like a Midwest chain, I think is still actually open. But you know, the whole everything aside about the corporate takeover of the video shops, because it's a whole world of, you know, scandal, not scandal, but it's the same as Walmart coming into towns and putting everybody else out of business. And Blockbuster kind of did the same thing. So there's this like sheen and shininess to the Blockbuster nostalgia that some people are like, oh, but hey, they put you know, Bobby's Video out of business. But regardless of that, when you were a kid in 1989, I was 11 years old, and going to the video store on a Friday night with your friend who was going to stay over was an epic, great experience. You know, like cruising those aisles, looking at the new releases versus the old releases, you know. You can get one new one because those were more to rent, and you only got them for like a couple of nights, and the older ones were like a 5-night rental for like 99 cents or whatever. And it was just like the exercise in walking through that space and looking at the covers and picking stuff up and looking at the back and running the gamble of, is the movie inside of this tape going to match the cover art on this? Particularly when you're talking about like horror and sci-fi, that was a kind of a big thing. Some of these smaller, like straight to video distribution companies would have this incredible, amazing cover art, and then you would watch the film and be like, this is not what was advertised. But yeah, it was just this whole, this is really good podcasting. Just a lot of sighing and like there's a horn honking outside. You know, but this idea and this process that has now been diluted down to scrolling through a Netflix queue. Scrolling through the queue. What do I have in here? What's even worth watching? Oh crap, I was watching Breaking Bad. I'll probably just go back to that. Oh, you're telling me I could go back to season 3 of Law and Order Special Victims Unit and relive all of that again, which, hello, I'm doing that also. Of course I am. But it's like you're overloaded with options, and when you had to physically on your 2 feet maneuver around those shelves and look at stuff and see the one, you know, something that you always caught your eye every time you walked in, and maybe it was always checked out and then it's there that day, so you rent it. And like, I don't know, it's just we've lost a culture in there. And you know, the great stores had 1 or 2 particularly incredibly knowledgeable people that would be there behind the counter that could tell you, I don't know, all kinds of weird facts, or would know stuff. I had the pleasure of being that person at a shop when I lived in New York, in Brooklyn. I worked at a store that was kind of like a GameStop, but it was also a lot of like used electronics and stuff. But we bought in, you know, pre-owned DVDs and Blu-rays. So we had a movie section. And so I got to live a little bit of the thrill of people coming in and saying, hey, there was a movie, probably came out in the late 80s, had, you know, Sylvester Stallone in it, and it was this guy, or I think it was Stallone, was a beefy guy, and he was fighting some people, and you know, and so it was that, there's the thrill of that chase, that you're trying to solve this puzzle. And even then, even in, you know, 2012, I don't know what year, it was like in that bracket. Even in that window where I had IMDb and Google at my fingertips, the thrill of like, okay, so you're talking about a movie and it was maybe this guy, was it this, and working down the list of like someone's filmography, and then the person goes, oh yeah, that's the one. You know, they're thinking about like, I don't know, Commando, which is not Stallone, that's Schwarzenegger. But you know, that's like, for me as a movie nerd and a kid who grew up learning so much from film because of my brain and the way that I work and the way that I had to learn how to socialize, you know, it's really important to me. And that act of going to the video store was such a key component of my life. And then even as a young adult, when I was kind of more on my own, and I would go, I always lived pretty close to a Blockbuster, especially once I lived by myself, there was one I could literally walk to or ride a bike to, even though I had a car. But it was pretty close, and I would go in there I would probably spend an hour just like going through, looking at titles and reading the boxes. And I would rent independent films, and when I would watch them, I would make a list of all of the trailers that showed at the beginning, and then keep that list. And then when I went back to the video store, I would look for those. And that's how I saw a lot of, I don't know what I otherwise would have missed, films. And I swear to God, I wish I could remember like any movie that I discovered that way, and I cannot think of anything. But I know that I did. I know that I rented a lot of queer films and stuff that I wouldn't have had access to if we didn't have something as big as a Blockbuster, in town. And, there's a movie, actually I have a DVD copy of it here. There's a movie called It's in the Water. I haven't seen it since I rented it at Blockbuster. It's this one. But I rented a VHS of this, and I haven't seen it since then. This is 96. Wolf Video. They would do all the gay movies. Maybe just the lesbian movies? I don't remember. But Wolf Video was kind of famous for the titles they would carry. And I think this one is just like, it's a town where like everyone's kind of queer. And they're like, it's in the water, I guess. I don't know. I need to give this one a rewatch. Right here next to me, as I'm talking, I have a little pocket of LGBTQ films on DVD. I have more. This is just, I miss the video store so much that I have organized my stuff kind of into sections and genres and themes, so I can come in here and relive it and ask myself questions about who was in what movie in 1996. So I'm living it as best I can. But hey, if you need any recommendations, suggestions, ideas for stuff to watch, it's me. Come to me. I also have been hosting like movie marathon days on Discord. I did it on Election Day. I'm going to do it again on Thanksgiving, just for something to do, just me and some friends. And that's been fun because I've been digging out just stuff that I have been meaning to rewatch, or stuff that I've always meant to watch, but like lighter movies, like a lot of 80s films or like 90s comedies are just good for that. And someone pointed out it felt like back in the day when you would just turn on HBO and there would be a movie in play, and you just kind of roll with it or don't, and then wait for the next one and do that too. Which I do appreciate that I think the HBO streaming services still do that. So, but I'm kind of at that point now where I don't like coming into the middle of a movie. I mean, stuff I've seen obviously is fine. I don't know. I guess it depends on what it is. I feel like we've reached this point in culture where, because everything is so on demand, that we're afraid to start something in the middle. And the truth is that, especially movies like I'm going to say, I don't know, 2000. I guess it depends on the types of film. But in general, a lot of mainstream stuff is designed so that you probably could come in 20 minutes in, 40 minutes in, and probably get enough out of it to know what's going on, unless it's like Memento or something that's specifically shaped and geared to be a very, very specific narrative. But I'm a purist. I like to start at the top. When I would go to the movies back when the in-person theaters were a thing, not a thing of our past. Which sidebar? What a day it will be when we kind of get over this hump of constantly elbowing the person next to us, even though no one's here. To be like, well, remember when before we would do the thing? And like, I don't know. Anyway, even at the movies, I would like to be there before the trailers begin, because I want to see all of it. And I certainly don't want to miss the first minute and a half of a film. So, yeah, I just like to see things from the start, I think. So, I used to, I think back to kind of the video store thing. There was something too about the financial investment of you spent whether it was $1, $3.99 or whatever to rent the movie, is like, you felt compelled to finish it even if it kind of sucked, because it was like, well, I paid money for this. Like, I paid cash money to watch this movie. I'm going to see what happens. And I think in a lot of cases, films that maybe you would be more likely to turn off on a streaming service, you would be more likely to finish if they were in a physical copy that you paid, that you had to go pick up. You're going to have to return it. So there's something, I don't know, there's like something psychological to that, I think. Because I don't think I ever stopped a movie in the middle and quit until streaming. Like, I've never walked out of a movie. I have always stayed committed to finishing the film if I'm at the theater. And if I rented one, I would certainly watch it all. And it wasn't until streaming that I found myself saying, you know what, this is kind of not good, and I will quit. But I think also there's a couple of things to that. Let's get into it, shall we? Number one, I am an older being. In that I was older now. No, I am older now. I was older. I'm in the future. I'm older now than I was then. So I'm a little more, I don't know, observant of like how much time I'm spending on something. But there's also just there's a lot of shit on that's available to watch. And I say that, and then I'm also going to take it back, because even the worst movie you've ever seen, someone made it, and the people that were in the middle of making it were not thinking this movie sucks. They were thinking, we're making a movie. It's going to be something fun. It will be good to watch, or I'm getting paid, or whatever. There was some positive element to it that led them to go from pre-production through production to post-production to release on the movie, no matter how bad it is. That said, with so many platforms and services and spaces to put things, I think that the bar has dropped a little bit. Or maybe it's just that things have always been I know there's always been stuff of this caliber, and maybe it was just harder to find, and now it's just like they're on Netflix. I don't know. And I gotta say, Netflix as a whole has had the worst track record of me popping into a movie and then going, oh God, this isn't good. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a thing where people are just trying to crank stuff out or what's going on. And in some cases, it's just like, it's not even that it's a badly made piece of work. It's that, I don't know, like in the framework of horror, there's some horror that just feels, I think I call it like mean-spirited, or I feel like there was another term I was using. When you're watching, for me, when I'm watching a horror film, it's fine if shit gets nihilistic and awful. Like, that's great. Like, let's explore that. Let's explore like why we're going there. But when a movie just like, when it feels like the movie cheats you, that's where I'm like, this sucks. This is not good. So, I feel like in some cases, some of these movies maybe went through a late stage rewrite or something because they wanted to make it grittier or harsher or harder or scarier. And it's really not that it's scarier. It's just that it feels so incredibly cruel or nihilistic in a way that it wasn't leading me to believe it was. And that's where I think it can really suck, I don't need everyone to survive. I just don't want you to let me think that we're watching a certain kind of movie and then you decide in Act 3. Yeah, I'm purposely not calling certain movies out because, it's not their fault necessarily. But I will, I'm going to call it out on the remake of The Fog. I've brought this up, I don't think on this podcast, but I've certainly said it before to people, is, I don't know, was it 2000? It was 2000 something. There's a remake of John Carpenter's The Fog. John Carpenter's The Fog is a great spooky horror film. The remake of it was not good. And I was watching that movie and feeling like, I was like, God, something is like just not settling right about this. And I was like, it seems like whoever wrote this, when they got to the third act, just decided to just throw something in there. And I was like, but this is like a major release, and that doesn't. I don't know they would do that. Well, then I'm watching the special features. I almost called them the benefits. The benefits on the DVD, and sure enough, the screenwriter of the movie was like, yeah, and I got to Act 3, and I decided this was what was happening. And I was like, you can't on a production draft level of something decide that your third act is just something you pulled out of your ass. I mean, you can, obviously, and they did, but like, that's not a good story. So shame on you, the Fog remake, because it wasn't good. But that's the kind of stuff that in some cases it's that, in other cases it's just kind of, I don't know. Some stuff feels, this is now independent horror bitching hour, which whatever, it's fine. Some stuff feels so, it's too polished for what the actual content is. You know what? It's the digital version of picking up the box at the video store, and it's got this cool, really intense, like awesome horror scene on the front, and then you watch it and it was like, it's a low budget with bad CGI that was still being developed at the time, kind of effects, and the acting isn't great. Like and there's like an equivalent to that now where it's really polished and the movie is technically good, but like there's just like some heart missing from it. So yeah, I'm not sure what that missing piece is, but it's something I've noticed, and it stands out in horror because I think you can get away with a lot, but if you mismatch the pieces, it's noticeable. I mean, it's also noticeable in comedy. If you don't have strong beats in comedy, and you don't have people who are strong enough to carry, the jokes or the dialogue or, the physical comedy of it, then it's really, really obvious. But I feel like it's harder to slip that stuff by someone. I think if you make a really like badly made comedy, like, I like that I'm doing all of this without citing really much of anything. But because I feel like you could watch something and it's corny, or yeah, it's ridiculous, or it's kind of low budget, but if it's funny, it's funny, even if it's, not great, you can still get some thrills out of it. Whereas I don't know. I think horror gets overlooked for how much it pulls off when it's telling a story, because it's doing it through so many layers of like metaphor, and also working to scare you, and also working to keep you invested. Because I think this is what I'm getting back to with my the horror that I can't really grab into, which is you have to make people care about, you have to make your audience give a shit about your characters. And if your characters are like, I don't know, if your characters are trash people, like listen, if you want to make a movie about garbage people that come up out of the garbage, that's not what I'm talking about. That sounds great. I love it. But if you want to write about people who are like not good people and we don't like them, that's also, that's fine too. What I'm saying is, like, if your movie, so let me roll back. Wow. So either you're making a horror film where we meet someone and we don't want anything bad to happen to them. That's your pretty standard like slasher movie fare or whatever. Or you at least meet a group of people and some are like whatever, but there's one or two people in there that you're like, no, I really hope they get through this because they sure seem nice, or I wouldn't want that to happen to me. Or if everyone involved is terrible, like in let's say a Saw film where everyone's getting punished for all of their crimes, there's still a point of investment of either the suspense of it, or, in a franchise like Saw where we're learning about why this person is even facilitating all of these crazy murder machines. There has to be some point of investment in the story. And I think that's maybe where the disconnect is happening. Is I've been seeing a lot of these independent horror films that are somehow getting made, but they're missing that piece. And they'll have great gore and they'll have great scares, but they're not there. I leave feeling so empty because it just feels too dark, and there wasn't really anything about it that took me anywhere. And it's not to say that you can't pull off films about that are really mostly that. I think Shudder just released Host, which is the Zoom horror film, and that was pretty much just all kind of like a smoke and mirrors magic show that was scary, and there wasn't a lot of character development in it, but it was doing something unique. It was taking something very present and they were doing a movie, and making something out of a moment that I could watch and go, oh yeah, like, number one, this is just a fun, scary little ride. Number two, as a filmmaker, seeing how someone took the tools that are now kind of in everyone's toolbox, which is the Zoom meeting, and turning that into a setting that is effective. Because I think that's been my biggest struggle right now is, how do I, as a storyteller and an artist, and particularly a filmmaker and sometimes a stage director, how do you do that in a time when you can't get together with other people in the way that you need to? I mean, theater is something that, okay, sure, I can pull off a show with 3 performers, 2 performers, 1 performer. But if I really am looking to do something with a couple of people and we're coming in over Zoom or whatever your preferred platform is, you have to deal with the technology, which is that there are lags between things, and if someone's at home set up with their router may not be as good as someone else's. And so you're always going to have these little snags in the system that make it hard to effectively put on a show in that way. And I talked about this with Dennis and Laura on the episode with their interview about music. Like, you can't do music over Zoom because it's all timing. And so, a live performance, it doesn't work with everyone's at-home setups. If you've got a professional studio setup and you've got a wildly successful Wi-Fi signal, maybe that's fine, but that's not everyone's situation. So it was inspiring to see that film and kind of how it utilized all that stuff. And I really just have, over the last couple of months, been trying to settle this score with myself, trying to make some decisions and brainstorm on what's possible right now. Like, what can I do? What can I shoot? Where can I film? Who am I comfortable working with? Because right now I have like one person that I've reliably, I have one person we can reliably just randomly meet up and shoot something in about 45 minutes and get it, and then I can just bring it home and cut it. Like, so, and that's not to say that there aren't other people that I know that would be willing to do that, but like that, he's my guy. I'm like, let's do it, and we'll do it, and we'll knock something out, and we'll make something up out of it. But if I want to do something more formal or more traditional, where I have a script, and so there's pages to do every day, and we got to run that camera, and we have to bounce some light, and we have to make sure everybody's fed. You start to talk about when they start to get crew, and you quickly are growing that list of people that are present. So I have been really trying to figure out how do I make a movie right now that's like an actual film, not just these experimental shorts. And I do have something I'm working on that is fitting that framework for, I think I can do it with, I don't know, 5 of us and 5 people figuring out how to bubble and pod that for, I don't know, I think I can do it 5 people, 5 days. That's how I like to say it. I like to work fast and dirty. Every feature film I've shot has been done in 8 days. They look like they were made in 8 days on no budget, but that's okay. We did it and we pulled it off. But yeah, I think one of the puzzles right now is figuring out how to make stuff that's possible. Of course you can't make stuff if it's not possible, but how to create and kind of rework old ideas into new ideas. I guess it's just reshaping things. It's just like everything. We kind of have to sit back down and figure out, okay, this is how we used to do something. How do we do it now? And so basically the real short version of that is I have a concept that I have been sitting on for a while, and it was kind of it was one of those ideas I kind of jotted down, and I keep working little versions of it, and I was going to do it as a short film, and the more I looked at it, I was like, this could be a feature, or at least a longer short. The beauty of right now is I can make a 45-minute movie. I'm not beholden to anybody for any kind of a time frame. So I can, if I want to make a 45-minute quote feature or a 45-minute short, I can do what I want and put it on YouTube, Vimeo, whatever. I can make the decision. I am the distributor, so I can do what I want. So I have this concept. I think I can do it as like a little road movie, which means 2 people in the car. I have the car mounts and all that stuff from a project I did earlier this year. So it seems very possible, but that's why I have to write it, which is what I've been working on. So we will see how that goes. Something else I've been doing, I'm going to wrap up here in a second. I'm just going through my list of stuff I've been working on. I've been digging through like my old footage. I have a movie that I haven't been able to release because it's not done, and it will never be done because we lost footage. But we shot it on a Canon Vixia. Was it digital? Yeah, it was memory card. But it's like a Canon Vixia camcorder, and I did a cut of it. I showed it to some people. This was 10 years ago at this point. But I recently found on a hard drive all of that footage. So I've been dropping it into Final Cut and just playing with, I have some filters and stuff that do a little film grain, do some different stuff. So some different packages and things, and playing with color correction. And I've toyed with the idea of like recutting the movie, and I don't think I'm going to do that. But I have been playing with the scenes and looking at stuff, and it's kind of fun. So I might post a little bit of that on the Patreon, so you guys can see kind of the older work of mine. I don't know. I might do that with a couple of things. We'll see what it looks like. Anyway, I feel like I have gone on and on about films and filmmaking for half an hour, so I'm going to go. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, patreon.com/Karyn Bensinger is where you can find more stuff. I'm doing kind of some like little behind the scenes posts, different things. You'll always find the podcast on there. The podcast is also always on YouTube. There is an opportunity to support my work. $3 a month is the base rate there. But everything is available for free. It's just if you feel like supporting independent art, that's the opportunity there for you. And as always, I am on what are they called? Social media things, Twitter and Instagram at KBenwrites. That's KBenwrites. And that'll do it. Thanks, friends.